The theory of subversion goes all the way back 2,500 years ago. The first human being who formulated the tactics of subversion was a Chinese philosopher by the name of Sun Tzu. 2,500 years BC. He was an advisor for several imperial courts in ancient China. And he said, after long meditation, that to implement state policy in a warlike manner, it's the most counterproductive, barbaric, and inefficient to fight on a battlefield. You know that war is continuation of state policy, right? So if you want successfully to implement your state policy and you start fighting, this is the most idiotic way to do it. The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy, until such time that the perception of reality of your enemy is screwed up to such an extent that he does not perceive you as an enemy, and that your system, your civilization, and your ambitions look to your enemy as an alternative, if not desirable, then at least feasible.
Hello and welcome to Fins. We got two very good players here today, Blackheart and Tag Rock. Blackheart number 1 on the global ladder, Rock is number 7, and then the 1v1 ladder, they're both top 10 as well. So this is going to be as good as it gets on a classic map. Of course, Blackheart, it's a bit scary. He's only really been playing for less than a year, and he's already the top player, and he continues to improve. Let's see how good he can get. I guess what people have said about him is that he's very good with numbers. He can predict exactly what the future is going to be based on the stats, which is very difficult to do in this game. Looks like first NG versus first Hunter. Rock, 2 pigeons, probably 2 mask extractors here. And on this map, the main raiding target is these rocks. There's a couple of rocks you can pick up. And there's actually so much mass. It's not quite 1,000, but probably about 700 to 800. You can use that to rush a very quick tech to mask extractor. You can get quite a bit of power from these trees as well. Second air is planned for Blackheart, so that'll be interesting. And actually getting those rocks early does put you at this balance in terms of mass. You right away get a whole bunch of mass, which you can't really use because you don't have enough power, especially if you go early air. And then suddenly you run out of that mass. So it's this, I guess you can say, manifold in the power energy space, or power mass space. As 2 hunters run past each other and both survive. And actually, the Snoop almost finished the deal, but not quite. Still 8 health left. Let's see if this engineer for Blackheart had the opportunity to put an end to this, but wasn't quick enough. Rock definitely paying attention, and actually now still 8 health. And looks like this will be a very nice hunter for Rock. Blackhearted with a tank takes care of the problem. On the other side, we might see a similar situation. So as you get these big oscillations in your mass and power early on, you really have to be expecting them to adjust to not overbuild power or overuse your mass, or basically overbuild power or overbuild build capacity. You can think of build capacity and mass being the 2 dual variables to each other, with power mediating that. Or however you want to think about it. I know Tag Rock rushing a quick Tech 2 mask extractor. I did not see this. So he is taking a page out of Mephi's book, although it might not even be his book. It might be Rock's book. Cybran, of course, has been Rock's favorite faction. Although, of course, you can do this with any faction. And now, Tech 2 mask extractor for Rock here before minute 3. Let's see how that turns out. That will give him a significant mass advantage. It's just like having extra 2 mask extractors out in the field. So under even conditions, that's 4 extra mass per second. So in a minute, he gets an extra 240 mass, which equals to 5 tanks. And of course, if you're making that extra 4 mass and you want to turn that extra 4 mass into tanks, you will need exactly 20 power, so an extra P-gen. And Rock saying no gesture. Guess he's giving away intel here. Blackheart is disappointed, and I guess the reason he said it is that Blackheart, given all that respect to Rock, went to scout and interceptor, very defensive. And instead he could have gone bomber, but here comes the bomber. Blackheart and Rock will now face each other. Rock doing the unusual. Typically the ACU goes around the top, from the top and through the bottom. So let's see how Blackheart reacts to this. He is pulling back units from the other side. And of course, in terms of intel, Blackheart has a huge advantage given that he has air. Still no air, just 2 factories. Quick tech to land from Rock. Rock playing this. I want to say this is pretty unusual, although on Finns, especially from tag team. I remember there was a game that Ubergeek played, which was really interesting to watch. It's I believe it's a cast, a long forgotten cast on this channel, where Ubergeek did some very strange things which worked out very nicely. So I think there's, from a year or two ago, there's some very interesting casts from beginning of FA. Of course the balance was not as good, but the gameplay, especially the player Ubergeek, I mean he is part of the tag team. It was kind of a pain to argue against, but he played extremely well. Still no Hydro from Blackheart, who has now paused his air factory. Let's see if it actually... No Tech 2 mass extractors, yeah, that's way too unusual. Tech 2 land from Blackheart. Of course, if we look at what the intel is, Blackheart, oh, this is great. This is what people are saying. He's very good at using all of his resources. So Total Recon for Blackheart knows exactly what's going on. He has seen the Tech 2 land factory, and he has seen Tech 2 mass extractor. Meanwhile, Rock has no idea, and that's the difference. But Rock is going to get hoplites, and he's extremely good with hoplites. And I would expect, yeah, immediately a stealth field. So there are no mistakes in this. He knows exactly how to maximize the effectiveness of the hoplite. Of course, stealth field uses 25 power the whole time, so you want to make sure you get that. And it's really only 80 mass and 25 power to use. It's inexcusable not to build it. And of course, when you're facing Cybran, and early on you get Quick Tech 2, it's very similar to what happens when you're facing Aeon and they go Quick Tech 2 Air. You really need to use your ACU early on out in the field, so it's going to be vulnerable. And Cybran do have access to suicidal bombers. I believe at this point, this has been changed so many times, it's 3,000 damage per suicide bomb. And they have been improved in terms of their control. So let's see how that works out. One thing that's kind of disappointing, I guess, from Blackheart, I think if Blackheart would have ran through the top, if he would have used his early air, he could have been a lot more aggressive with the 2 ACUs fighting on the bottom, but he went to land a little slower. And bombers killing civilians. See Blackhearted killing civilians and Rock unable to protect the civilians. And here's Stealth Field here running away. Kill for the hoplite against the Snoop. Also Tech 2 flag for Blackhearted. This is pretty German, yeah. Tech 2 flag when the other side has no air. So rules are rules, and I think that's a good rule. If you have Tech 2 land, make Tech 2 flag, just one, because I'm sure at some point in this game Rock will make air, and that Tech 2 flag will be very useful. But multiple Mongoose now for Blackheart, who is also getting shield up. 110 power usage on one of those mobile shields. So you need 4.5. Take 1 P-gens to support it. Blackheart getting hit. And this is where radar is so important, and to use radar and stealth you need enough power. But you can see how Rock has just enough. You need radar to use the hoplite. You can see the visual range on the hoplite so much lower. And here the hoplites really want to avoid getting overcharged by the ACU. Rock does have some power storage. Looks like he's now having some mass problems. He's got quite a bit of build capacity on the Tech 2 land factory, and he's also got the second Tech 2 mass extractor, almost got his third, and really getting pushed back here. We've seen a Tech 2 point defense for Rock and more scouts. Rock still has no idea what's going on. Just sort of hanging out, reclaiming trees here on the bottom. And after 8 minutes, I gotta say, this has been one of the most passive games ever. And the Hydro has been absolutely ignored by Blackheart. I guess he doesn't want to build it because he doesn't want to think about it. He's completely ignored this part of the map. He's like basically saying, go ahead and take it if you want it. One thing to note, though, Blackheart is going to get an extra Tech 2, 2 Tech 1 mass extractors, which is the same as upgrading one of the mass extractors in your base, and actually a Tech 2 point defense. So Blackheart, extremely defensive. There hasn't been a single unit here ever, and he's built a Tech 2 point defense, and that's 450 mass. That's half a Tech 2 mass extractor, or not, could have been 2 extra pillars or mongoose in the field that he's put into his base. I guess that is a bit of a mistake, because if Rock basically never attacks this position and just wins map control, he will win. While a couple extra mongoose could be quite nice, or halfway on a Tech 1 to Tech 2 upgrade on a mass extractor is also quite nice. And this is a pretty dangerous set of hoplites. There's also a Tech 2 engineer on the loose. Interesting placement on this Tech 2 point defense. This is very nice. Actually, I haven't seen one up here. This should be very interesting. Wonder if this hill can block some of the shots. So far, extremely defensive game. Rock now almost finished with an upgrade. He now has the gun. Blackheart has no upgrades, just sort of sitting in the pond. And let's look at the eco, nearly identical. A little more, I guess, now for Blackheart. He's been reclaiming quite a bit. And extra 4 mass for Blackheart. If we look at the reclamation, 2200 for Blackheart, Rock at 1200, so an extra 1000. I guess quite a bit of that 1000 came from these civs. So I think in terms of taking, Rock was a bit faster. And that's the advantage that he has in mass. Blackheart a bit more power, and now he's going to finally get the Hydra as well. Now the hoplites are going to begin to harass. Let's see, with the hoplites, when you're pushing up like this, it's very important where you get your Raider. I don't imagine that we're going to see Tech 2 Raider here anytime soon from Rock. And now finally Blackheart decides to go on an assault. I didn't realize this game was going to be so passive. It's a little too much respect. Usually on Finns you see players going back and forth, but in this one, Tech 1 spam isn't a viable option, I guess, for either side. Both players went very quick Tech 2, and then they kind of didn't know what to do with each other. And here, this is what happens when you do something bad in the military and you get put on the front lines and you're not allowed to run back. But these are going to make it back. Of course, these are not amphibious, so this wall would have done a very good job of preventing these hoplites from getting home, but it looks like they finally did. See if this wall is actually finished. Most likely won't be. So the wall construction has been quite a bit of action here in the last 2 minutes. Probably the most important thing that's happened. We're also seeing quite a bit of Tech 2 flak from Rock, anticipating some air assaults, and Tech 2 power. See any more Tech 2 mass extractors? Looks like it's just going to be the 4. For Rock, who's now got way more power, so he probably should turn that into air or something more interesting. Of course, Wangers always a good option on this map, given that they can go underwater. Sneak attacks from Wangers are always a good idea, and they do have very weak torpedoes, so they could be a good option at forcing ACUs out of the water, although you need quite a few of them to be effective. We're finally seeing some air from Rock. Where is the air factory? Yeah, it's here in the back. And more hoplites, more teching from Rock. and I guess more teching from Blackheart. So basically a game of teching and building up tech 2 bots. The big difference has been a lot more defensive units for Blackheart earlier, and that could be the difference. But of course Blackheart has had this island, but now these Wagners are going to take it back. Looks like engineers standing by, also some sonar. This engineer standing by for this Wagner to go ahead and take care of this position. Interceptor spotted that, so nothing too eventful. The other island not taken by anybody yet, and more walls for Rock. Is anything going to happen? This has now been a very big number of hoplites for Rock. And he's not really doing anything. I mean, don't want to question Rock here, but maybe a good unit to build would be some mobile missile launchers. Put pressure on this force. Mobile missile launchers are always a good unit. But perhaps the way he's feeling, if he can't spam as much as Blackheart, he might be in trouble. Rock finally has some recon. And most likely now has stealth. Yeah, he's got stealth and the gun. And of course Cybran on water maps is stealth. Extremely annoying. You can't see them unless you got either Omni or you get your own Navy in visual range, or you got Tech 3 spy planes. So if they go somewhere in the corner and all you have is torpedo bombers, you can't kill them. Something that's quite annoying, but useful to do. So Rock always has that option of running away. And another wall now for Rock. And Tech 2 Raider going up. Tech 2 Raider does take quite a bit to operate. I believe it's 250 power. And I don't really know what to say anymore. This is I guess finally when we see this fight between the Mongoose and the Hoplites, we're going to find out which unit is better. So far we have 27 Hoplites. And 16, sorry, those are the Mongoose, 27 Mongoose versus 16 Hoplites. Hoplites do have the range, but of course shields for Blackheart. Hoplites are now moving up. A scout for Blackheart will deny stealth, but it will be killed by some Tech 2 flak. Let's see, now Rock, the reason he's moved up, now he does have this Tech 2 Raider, which does take 250 to operate. And with Tech 2 Raider in that position, he's got very nice coverage of the map. Mongoose forcing the Hoplites back. Hoplites still have a small door here to squeeze through. And of course the thing about the Mongoose, they have up front very powerful weapons that they can run in, unload, and then retreat. Very long reload on those. On that first volley. Hoplites always outrange them. But it looks like really minor damage. We do see a couple dead Mongoose here. Not much more than that. 600 mass should be picked up by one of these players. And Tech 3 land. Okay, so finally things happening here. Minute 16. Seen bricks and Tech 3 land from Rock. So he's been a little quicker now on the Tech 3 land. Still just Mongoose. And yeah, this artillery here will be quite effective. I'd love to see somebody take that top island. And now the Wagners. Rock is the player going on an assault. He's going behind. He's going to deny the Hydra, which Blackheart has shown doesn't really care about. And also interesting, a Wagner here. 300 mass invested in that tank, just sort of sitting in the water. Maybe for recon and Navy. First Navy we've seen. Now from Blackheart, it's going to be Tech 1. Probably some Tech 1 subs to give him the option to kill an ACU if an ACU gets carried away. And actually, where is Rock's ACU? I haven't seen him for a long time. Back at base. So a lot of investments not being used. But perhaps this late in the game, it's a good idea not to tempt fate. Also some anti-air, TMD, power storage, and now bricks. And given this eco, if you're making, actually now Blackheart pulling away a little bit with eco. If you're making 40 mass, and you need 1200 mass for a brick, and you're making 40 mass, that means in 10 seconds you got 400. So in 30 seconds you can make enough mass to make a brick. So if Rock puts all of his eco into these bricks, he can have 2 a minute, which is going to be a very significant force, given that we finally actually know Tech 3 land now from Blackheart. Blackheart, as soon as he saw that, he decided to invest in Tech 3 of his own. He definitely needs Percy's to be able to counter, and I'd love to see more shots from this Artie. See actually what the range is on that Artie. Gets about to here, he can begin assaulting directly on Blackheart's base. Blackheart does have a couple more Tech 2 mass extractors that Rock did not upgrade. Actually, there's one up here, but Rock did not upgrade some on this side. He feels like this is a little more secure. And actually, Blackheart with the gun, he's gonna catch these hoplites, and this is bad for these hoplites. Blackheart could make this very bad. This is 800 mass just sitting there. Also, more hoplites being chased to Tech 2 point defense. And on the other side, we got bricks. So Rock decided to move down the other channel. He's going to avoid the main force. And Tech 3 artillery is going to shoot back and forth. The stealth has been seen. The thing about UEF artillery is they're not that accurate and they don't have that big a splash, but I believe they do the most damage. Still quite nice. And here we're going to see the torpedoes over the Wagner. Really minor. You see about a total of 18 damage. Which is torpedoes of a submarine, and those Wagners are going to turn into nice chunks of mass. Really not much damage done at all. Though now we've seen Tech 2 air from Rock here coming up minute 20 in this very peaceful game. Very much a Cold War. Although now Blackheart beginning to move up on the top channel. Yeah. That's what happens when you run up against the trebuchet. You really got to move fast, try to kill it. I totally think that using Tech 1 bombers against those trebuchets is a viable thing to do. And it looks like these bricks have now been diverted. Looks like Rock is going to play defense. He's totally respecting this ACU, pushing back at the top side. And it appears that Blackheart is going to try to get this Tech 3 artillery to move back to prevent it from shooting, which should allow his forces to move up. Looks like the bricks have now been diverted back. I think a couple of bricks here on the bottom can do all kinds of damage, although Percy now moving into position. And finally some Tech 2 power from Blackheart. Has been very much behind on power, something that Rock really hasn't used much. I think we can probably get a little more air. Corsairs do cost quite a bit of mass, 420 mass. So 3 Corsairs is about a brick, and 2 Corsairs is about a trebuchet. And in this position, it's probably better to have these, given that there is quite a bit of Tech 2 flak on the field. So Tech 2 air probably not a very viable option. And now we're going to see Percy's versus bricks, 2 versus 1. Percy is now going to make it actually 3 versus 1 now. 2 more Percys in support are going to retreat. And in these types of fights, numbers is the most important thing. Then the next thing is range. In this case, these two units have very similar range. And range is always amplified by radar and recon. That's why bricks with some stealth, notoriously deadly weapon. And now multiple arties moving up together with shields, although those shields are under heavy fire. Too bad we're gonna see this beautifully placed Tech 2 point defense just get killed by some arty. Quite unfortunate. And actually, if Blackheart is doing these types of things, if Rock is feeling like he can kill him, you'd only need about 4 or 5 suicidal bombers to go ahead and take care of his ACU. I'm sure with some stealth you can sneak those in. I'm sure if Rock would be thinking that. No, Rock is just going with bricks. And we don't want to forget about Rock's ACU, which has the gun and stealth, which make him very good against these Percys. Percys, meanwhile, of course, all the assault bots can't go underwater. Bricks are back for some defense. And we're finally seeing some action in this game. It's almost kind of strange. Blackheart now in this situation, I think Blackheart should lose. Maybe he's almost tempting a rock to make some of those suicide bugs, but I think this is a total mistake. This, for being so defensive all game, for Blackheart to do something like this had to have been a mistake. And now he's going to be dodging the hoplite. You see the range on the brick, and brick is much more difficult to dodge, although you can still do it. Now brick's moving in, and you see Blackheart, I think, is going to survive here. Although, the one thing about this water, there are torpedo bombers from rock, so you definitely don't want to go there. There are some shields. Okay, this Texas point defense is alive, actually doing damage. Mongoose pushing up ahead. And now Blackheart, 2,500, staying on the edge of the water. And brick together with stealth is still doing damage. And what Blackheart's seeing here, he has no idea that there's something there except for the fact that he's been getting hit. That's the power of a stealth brick. The invisible brick. It's always a pain in the ass. But of course now, total air domination from Rock, and Raw has a team. That's a huge team of fire beetles. Actually, let's check out how much those cost. So don't play with Cybran much. 300 mass. 300 health, so same as a Tech 1 tank. I do believe they do 3,000 damage. Definitely worth it for 300. And I believe Mercy also costs 300 mass. 3,000 damage. So after that huge battle, Rock is definitely the winner. Huge amounts of mass. I think Blackheart made a mistake of wandering off with his ACU. Now we got all these roaches standing by. One interesting fact about assault bots, the Percy and the Brick, if they do get 5-star veterancy, a single overcharge won't actually kill them, which are very annoying against an ACU. He's really counting on winning that fight with a single overcharge. A few extra shots from a Brick or a Percy can end ACU's life. And it also appears that a few of these mass structures have been destroyed. I'm assuming those are from artillery. I haven't seen any cruise missiles, although that's always a possibility. You see some TMD here. And now Tech 3 mask structures. And this Tech 3 mask structure, I believe that is adjacent to both the Tech 1 factory and the Tech 3 land factory. And that should give a pretty good bonus. I'm not actually sure what the bonus is going to be. Haven't played this game enough lately. That's a new feature. The new adjacency bonuses. It's something along the lines of 25% discount on those Percies. Of course, only the part that's built by the factory, a big fraction of this factory, is being supported by engineers, and the build capacity on a Tech 3 land factory is the same as 12 Tech 1 engineers, and it looks like this is now about the build capacity of 3 Tech 3 land factories. So as the game continues to minute 25, we've had one big battle. Otherwise, we've had not much else happening. 2 ignored mask tractors on top. Rock winning a huge reclamation battle. He's already got a bunch of engineers that have taken it. 7,500 reclaim. Imagine Blackheart's going to be quite a bit lower, actually. Not that much lower, 6,200. Whenever I talk about build capacity and all these numbers and ratios, then I think about what they did to Planetary Annihilation. It makes me a little sad. If you go to their forums, Planetary Annihilation, they've put up a description of the economy a while ago. And basically, it's turning 2 resources of build capacity and energy into a single resource, which will be represented by engineers and power generators, but basically, all you need power for is to... Well, the other way to say it, the costs for units are only in mass. And how quickly they're built is going to be based on how many factories are building them and how many engineers are assisting those factories. The energy cost is going to be completely dependent on what structures you use to build those. I think that's a significant drawback and options to balance this game. And now the Percies are moving in, and of course, Percies is something you have to respect. they will win a battle in equal numbers. But now it appears that Rock is going to attempt to use bugs against Percy's. And of course there's splash damage on these, and I gotta say they have been quite effective. The thing about Percy's, they do have low fire rate. This fire from Cybran artillery has been quite nice. Splash damage is always good. And actually I think the fact that the Percy's are so slow is going to be quite bad for him. If I was Black, I'd probably take these into the water and walk around and try to come out on into a Rock's base, where the only time you get shot is when you're in direct firing some very important units. Otherwise he's just getting hit all day, and that's a lot of artillery. Gunships now also for Rock, and not looking so good. This is the couple surviving bricks, 4 bricks. An absolute carnage here because the field is littered with all these shells. You can't see all the huge amounts of mass. So I believe Blackheart thinking about leaving this battlefield like he left the other one should be a very bad feeling, because he's leaving a lot of mass for Rock, who probably with this mass could make a spider bot, something along those lines. Well, the Percy spam continues. Blackheart back at base. He's not going to take any more chances. Now as the Percys continue to roll, of course these things have so much damage, and actually they got to their artillery. They're going to put an end to this. You know, one shot all these units, although they've taken so much damage. Yeah, this is where terrain is so important. Just fire right over that hill. Now the bricks are going to come back, and this could be bad for these bricks against the Percys. Still huge numbers. And gunships, of course, also pain. No more flak left for Blackheart. And artillery fire continues. 9 kills on this Artie. It's already a pretty big veteran. Thing we haven't seen in this game, of course, cruise missiles, but both players have had TMD most of the game. Tech 2 stage, they built a bunch of units, didn't really use them too much, except to the Tech 3 stage. So we didn't even get to see Cyber mobile missile launchers. I think that's one of the most powerful weapons against UEF, who have a really bad TMD. Some more flak coming out now for Blackheart. Actually quite a bit of flak. In terms of eco, now Rock quite a bit ahead. Does have a couple Tech 3 mass extractors now. Getting more. He's spamming air quite hard, and he already has total air domination. He's forcing the Percys into the water. He's going to use torpedo bombers to finish them off. I think this is where not building air for Blackheart has been a problem. One of the reasons he hasn't, because he had such a big deficit in power, but that has not been fixed. And still, he's not really making air fast enough. One thing that has happened now is Rock has gone very quick Tech 2 Navy here, minute 30. First cruiser, and shifting a lot of build capacity to the naval factory. Actually, one thing I like to see here, minute 31, how many engineers Rock has. He's got a total of 61 plus 24, 85. So 85 times 50. It's about, what, 4,200 mass invested in build capacity. Pretty large fraction. It's the same thing as 3.5 bricks. Blackheart, let's see how much. I think he actually has significantly less. It's all focused around that Tech 3 factory. He's only got 53. It's only about 2,500. Blackheart, once again on the front lines, he's feeling like he can't afford not using his ACU on the front line in this game. He is behind. He needs to start taking risks. He does have quite a few upgrades. I believe he has Tech 2 and a gun. I actually have Tech 3 here. There's only Tech 2. And these situations, when you got a Tech 2 up in the field like this, doing stealth fields is quite nice, although total air domination is going to be deny that. One thing we do have to note, a Tech 2 submarine from Rock, which is invisible. That's going to be a big surprise for Blackheart if he chooses to hide in this water. And of course, this cruiser is going to make sure that air control stays with the Rock. And once again, these Perseus under just abuse from the trebuchets. And actually, Perseus do not have numbers anymore against bricks. And the difference between bricks and Perseus is so small. You get a small numbers advantage with bricks, you will win that fight. See the trebuchets, a lot of kills, respecting the Perseus, pulling back. And actually now Blackheart appears to have upgraded some more mass extractors. He has caught up in terms of mass. Although Rock now, reclamation 13,000, 8,000 for Blackheart. So still a bit of reclamation left over that Rock hasn't been able to utilize. Blackheart now moving up with his ACU. And actually a couple of good overcharges here against these bricks, which are going to get clumped up. This is where a single shot can turn the game. And you got bricks all in one bunch. We're going to see a couple of those. Looks like a single overcharge, a single brick. That was 2 bricks with 1 shot. Needs a couple more good ones. And those are almost dead anyway. But this ACU really shifted that battle. Although under such heavy fire from both Navy, see now actually cruisers, destroyers and cruisers, together with the trebuchets, really made that victory, doesn't feel like a victory. More bricks on the way. Although Blackheart, if Rock isn't careful, can come in close and overcharge ships. Overcharging a destroyer is always an accomplishment. Haven't done that in such a long time because I haven't played set in such a long time. Yeah, I miss overcharging ships. That's one of the most fun things to do. We now are seeing fire beetles on the field. Blackheart forced into the middle pond. Finally some Corsairs. And we've seen a very nice assortment of units from Rock. And I gotta say, there's really not much hope now for Blackheart. Though his mass is looking quite good. Pierce has been attacking like crazy. Still no air. His Navy is about to be lost. Good submarines from Rock. And when you lose Navy this late in the game on Fins, that's basically a death sentence. Because these ships can reach anything inside Blackheart's base. Blackheart now is going to rush up against the ships. Perseus. We took a couple shots of these. Actually, I think the cruiser was destroyed by the Perseus. Rock has some really nice assets standing by, gunships, torpedo bombers, and more artillery. And this is a lot of build capacity now in this Tech 2 naval factory. And actually finally here, Blackheart minute 35 is finally killed by Rock. A very slow game, but I think quite a high quality. So a game to give to all those people who think that this game is all about Tech 1 spam. It's basically, if you don't make Tech 1, you're going to lose, because it's going to be very easy to kill for the player to kill you. So you got to first get a draw in Tech 1 to see the other stuff. And actually, people have suggested that I go to the next menu. Actually, I do have hot stats, so you can see all that, but I think it's kind of difficult to see all that. So I'll just go to the totals, and you can see that Rock has a little more mass, and you can see the typical numbers after 36 minutes. 100,000 mass. If you think about 100,000 mass, that's a lot of mass, but it's only half a paragon, not even half a paragon. There are still units which cost double that. But one of these, that's about 4 Galactic Colossus, nearly 100 bricks, and you know, a whole bunch of other stuff. In terms of kills, a huge advantage for Rock, built quite close, and quite a bit of energy. And looking at this final ratio of the energies, actually both players very similar. It is about, what is it, 20 to 1. Actually, see how much it was wasted. 5 mass wasted per person. Not enough to build anything. Maybe a wall. And
energy wasted. Actually, a little more for Rock. He has produced much more in this and in periods of this game. In terms of mass spent, basically the same thing as. See, what is this rate? Energy spent. Quite low, actually. Alright, let's see what else. Naval, air, no experimentals, land. Really not much to say. So hopefully people enjoyed this one. Definitely did. If people have suggestions for these casts, always open to suggestion.